Does anyone know why this big green stuff looking thingy is in the middle of the ocean and why Luffy's on it? The only explanation that I can think of is that this is that one beanstalk thing from Skypiea. But if that's true, then the One Piece editors are straight gigachats for predicting this before the manga even got there. Also, on a side note, expect so much Zoro glaze this episode because he's just so cool. Anyways, this is episode 3 of Overanalyzing One Piece. Let's begin. So in episode 1 I mentioned that it makes no sense that Luffy's clothes didn't get damaged from Alvida, and I still think that's kinda strange. But on this frame we can see that his shirt did get damaged from the bullets, yet the damage just disappeared. Since there really is no logical explanation, I'm just gonna make some headcanon that Shanks or Makino or someone made his clothes super strong so that they didn't even get damaged from bullets and swords, but at least have some continuity. Wait a minute. Did I just criticize peak fiction? No! I don't think that!
You're going to be king of the pirates? Right. You must be completely out of your rubbery mind. Do you have any idea what that means?
King of the Pirates means King of the Pirates!
It's kind of ironic Zoro says this because his dream is almost equally as crazy. Or this could just be Zoro seeing if Luffy really means what he's gonna say. I mean, he says multiple times that he will do anything to achieve his dream. And it makes sense that he would want to make sure he's joining someone worthy of his trust.
Here's what I promised you. There's 3. I couldn't tell which was yours, so I just took all of them.
All of them belong to me. I use Sentoryu, the 3-sword style.
We are now getting introduced to Zoro's 3-sword style, and it's just so cool, man. Like, who else is gonna think of using their mouth to be able to use another sword? Hey, come on, man, that's not fair. I mean, he also has so much aura, so I guess it works. Anyways, Zoro's 3 swords will basically cause all of his fights to become so much more cooler, so stay tuned for more Zoro glaze. Also, what is he doing with his elbows? Is he like trying to escape or stretch his arm? Like, what is this?
Straw Hat's no ordinary human like the rest of us. He must have eaten one of those devil fruits that we've heard all those rumors about.
Devil fruit? The hidden treasure of the sea.
This is another mention of devil fruits, and it's nice and all for them to make them seem more ominous and powerful. But did we really need another explanation of them when we just got one like 2 episodes ago? Also, I know I said earlier how I was a fake fan for criticizing One Piece, but expect to see a lot of it since I said I was going to overanalyze everything, so I'm going to talk about the bad stuff too.
Today I officially become a criminal, having fought the Marines. So I'll become a pirate, that I can promise you.
Luffy has officially gained his first member of his crew, and of course Zoro has to say it in the coolest way possible. Not much else to overanalyze about this, since it's just a great scene. And speaking of not having much to overanalyze, this fight doesn't have a lot to speak about. We get some nice entertaining fighting, Morgan glazing himself, the Marines doing nothing but standing there and being scared, and Zoro aura farming. Just overall, average and really good stuff, so I'll just brush past most of it.
You hear that, you big idiot? Kobe is ready to die by your hand!
It makes so much sense how Luffy knew Helmeppo wasn't gonna shoot because he's such a coward, and Luffy knew Kobe was alright if this was the end, so he punched Helmeppo. The only thing is I really wish Luffy said one of the most iconic lines Shanks ever said, which was, "You have a gun, or are you willing to shoot it?" in like episode 4 or something. And like, oh my god, it would have been so perfect. I know everyone would just stand up from their chair and just start screaming and cheering, and oh, I would love that. But I guess everything can't be perfect. The Marines doing this was actually kind of foreshadowed for a while now. Like, none of the Marines wanted to follow orders to execute anyone, and last episode I mentioned how the Marines looked very uneasy while Helmeppo was being a horrible guy. The worst part is that they couldn't really do anything about it without getting executed themselves, so this is the first big moment where it's reviewed on how corrupt the Marines are. And don't worry, there'll be a lot more of that coming later.
I can't find this sucker anywhere.
I thought I should mention that Nami's been doing like the most random stuff while everything's been going on for the last 3 episodes. And later in the scene we discover she's looking for some map and get a little foreshadowing for Buggy. I mentioned in episode 1 that having scenes of Nami expands the world further while showing the viewers that other things will be going on that don't revolve around Luffy. And this fully applies here, but even greater because we get foreshadowed on the next villain for the series.
I am stuffed. Ah, having not eaten for 3 weeks, I was ready to gnaw through my bootstraps.
This is the perfect time to show Zoro just acting like a normal guy, because we've already seen him being super cool and everything, and giving him this more laid back and chill side of Zoro is what makes him one of my favorite characters. And I'm sure most people would rather see both sides of Zoro than just having the super serious and cool version. That's something post-time skip Zoro needs to learn.
I've heard about it, but I never knew it was such an awful place.
It's worse than you think. You know that this world has 2 oceans, I'm sure.
I can't really show everything Kobe said, so here's a paraphrased version for you. So basically, the red line cuts through half of the world in a vertical line across the world, and the Grand Line does the same thing in a horizontal line. Finally, Gold Roger hid the One Piece in the Grand Line, and so many pirates went there to get the One Piece and never came back, so it is known as the Pirates' Graveyard. Anyways, I think it's a very good idea for Kobe to explain this here because we need the explanation at some point. And most of this episode was dialogue and wrapping up Shellstown, so this is probably the best area to give the viewer some idea on what the Grand Line is before Luffy goes there.
We appreciate everything you did to save our town from that horrible tyrant who terrorized us all for so long. However, now that we know that you're pirates, as Marines we cannot sit idly by and watch you go about your business.
This is such a great scene when you really analyze it because at first it just seems like the Marines are doing the job, and while that is true, it goes so much deeper than that. It's obvious by looking at them that they don't really like that they're doing this, but they have enough honor as Marines to do it. It's also showing how not all Marines are bad people, and these are just genuinely good guys. And at the end of the episode, they punish themselves by not eating food for 3 days. And again, this is just them keeping the honor as Marines by punishing themselves for breaking Marine law. Anyways, I could glaze the scene for the next 10 minutes, and no, that's not a joke. But let's just move on.
Stop. You can't do this. Luffy, no! Now that was a dumb move!
Luffy rage-baiting Kobe was such a smart move on his end because he knew the Marines would find out that he was with Alvira, so he forced Kobe to make a scene that would cause the Marines to assume he was unrelated to pirates. And when Kobe realized that, it's just so amazing and I love it. This just goes to show that Luffy really is stupid, but he can do smart things sometimes, especially when it's to save his friends.
No reason. It's just...
Just what?
I promised someone a while back. I swore that I would gather a crew, find the world's greatest treasure.
This is just such a great ending for the episode because it gets us wondering who this guy is Luffy made a promise to, and it gets us ready for a bunch of cool and weird stuff to happen in episodes moving forward. And also, if you've already watched the entire show, you can't just help but feel really nostalgic to see these guys moving on from the next arc. Like, I don't know what else to say. It's just super cool. Anyways, that's it with the episode. I know there wasn't a lot to talk about like in the last 2 episodes, but I still really liked it. Especially the scenes with Luffy making Kobe hit him, and Zoro joining the crew were so amazing. And the fight with Morgan, Helmeppo, and the Marines was really cool too. But there just wasn't much to talk about without saying the same things over and over again. Anyways, I'm going to give this episode an 8.5 out of 10, but I'm also going to move episode 1 down to 7.5. Like I said before, I want to talk about each episode individually for my rankings, and if I did take into account the stuff that it does for the story moving forward, it would probably be a lot higher. Also, this is the end of the Romance Dawn arc, which is the first arc in the show, by the way. And like 2 to 3 weeks from now, I'll have an arc review out, which I'll just talk about literally everything that happens. But anyways, that's it for the episode. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Next episode, Luffy's Past. Enter Red Hair Shanks.